Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. I'm so glad you're here today because we are going to delve right into the subject of suspended animation. Well, not really, just sorta. We are going to take our focal images and suspend them. So this card is called a spinner card because you can twist your focal image, and then when the person opens the card, it spins. This card is the same idea, except it's a tint card. And it is called a tint card because it stands up, and from the side, it sort of resembles a tint. Now, not too long ago, I put together a tint card similar to this for the Taco Fiesta stamp set. You may remember that. But we did not, for that card, attach the focal image to the bottom, only to the top. But for this card, we have the focal image, in this case a planet, suspended from the top and then anchored at the bottom of our window on our card. And as I said, this card, the tint card, it sets up all on its own just fine, as does this card. Of course, it can slide sometimes on certain surfaces, but basically these two cards are the same. This one, if you twist it, it's not going to spin as freely because it has limited space. And I kind of increased the space between the front and the back of the card by making this mechanism down here a little wider than I usually do for tint cards. But we'll get into all of that as we go along. The stamp set and dies I used for these cards are the Reach for the Stars stamp set. And here are those images stamped out, and you have seen this before. A little bit ago I did a video entitled, it was an in detail video that talked about not just the stamp set and the dies, which here are the die cuts, but also the rest of the suite of products that this bundle is a part of. And that suite is called Stargazing Suite. And it also includes Designer Series paper, the Stargazing Designer Series paper, and specialty papers. But for today, we will be using the stamp set, basically for the greeting, and the dies, because we're going to use these circle dies. And we're also going to use some of the Designer Series paper. And that will be the paper that has the planet designs on it. Now, these cards can be made using any stamp set you have. Any stamp set, any dies. I prefer for these cards to make my windows circles. They just seem to work better. I don't have to worry about angles. Will the image spin? Will it not? Will it fit? Will it not? It just seems to work better with circles, but feel free to use any shape that you desire. Now, like I said, these two cards, they're basically the same card. One of the differences is the tint card has this little mechanism here that allows it to stand up. And also, because you can't really open it, on the back, I've put a panel that has the happy birthday greeting and then a place to write a message and sign your name. On the inside of this card, because I wanted to have the space design from the Designer Series paper showing in the background, I didn't put another panel in here, only the Designer Series paper, and I cut out a few of the planets to put in here. But on this one, I stamped a greeting, happy birthday, And this planet right here, it's light enough I can sign my name, because I thought I will probably be sending this card to a child in my life, and they're really not into a lot of messages. I can just put from Aunt Kim or, you know, something like that. And so that's why I chose to use the planets for my greeting and my space to sign my name on this card. However, if you do not want to do that, you could also put this panel on the back of this card. So we will walk through how to make these cards, and we will start with this one, and then we will take this card and turn it in to a tint card. So we're going to need a few things, and we're going to need a card base. Now, I've already cut the window out of this, but let's pretend we didn't. So it's going to be 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Now, as always, all the measurements and supply list for these cards will be on my corresponding blog post, and the link to that blog post can be found in the description of this video. So we have our card base, and we're going to need 2 pieces of Designer Series paper, and this is from that Stargazer pack of Designer Series paper. A little look out into the galaxy there. And then the other thing we'll need is 2 planets. Now you can cut these from the Designer Series paper, or you can just use the dies that cut out these planets and then ink them and make your own planets, but they need to be the same size. And the size needs to be able to fit through this die. This is one of the Stylish Shapes dies. It's the second largest circle, and that's what I use to cut this window. And it just has to kind of fit in there nicely and have just a little bit of room that it can move. So those are our basic needs for this particular card, for the spinner card. That's what this one is, that just, it doesn't have the mechanism to be the tint card. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to take this piece of Designer Series paper, and we'll need to use some kind of temporary adhesive. I just put it along the bottom, and I use this kind. Now Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell this kind, but you can get it in most craft stores and a lot of other places. A temporary adhesive is fairly easy to find. Now another thing you can do if you have some frog tape or painter's tape is just you know, do like we used to do in school. Well, I don't know if you did, but I did. When we wanted to attach things, just take a piece of tape and, well, roll it so the sticky side's out. Stick it here on the bottom, and then just some kind of low-tack tape. You just want to hold this on here temporarily. That's the goal. So we'll take this off of here. But what we're going to do, open this up. This is on here temporarily. And we're going to put our second largest die on here. Now you want it to be at least 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch from the top of your Designer Series paper. Run this through your die cut machine. 1 pass worked for me. You may need 2. Just depends on your machine. And then when you are finished, you will have this. Now it won't have the planets on it or the greeting yet, but it will look like this. And then you will have these 2 pieces left over that you can use for another project. Now, the next thing we want to do is, what I did was I put on my greeting. Before this was permanently attached, I did my greeting. Because on these, I embossed them with white embossing powder. On this one, I also embossed it, but I used Night of Navy ink. And the way I embossed it was I just inked my stamp. First, I used Versamark. Now, you don't have to. You can also just go right to the Night of Navy ink, but I prefer to, number one, use Versamark, and then I tap a little bit of Night of Navy over the Versamark, stamp that on my panel, and then immediately sprinkle the clear embossing powder over it and heat set it. And what you get is a nice, smooth, raised, and a little bit shiny greeting. Then after I did that, I put my pieces of planet where I wanted them. And what I did, I just took some of the Designer Series paper and I cut small planets. I used parts of planets. And this was a whole planet that I just cut the edge off. Just to give it a little more, oomph, a little more something on the front of our card. So now we are going to make the mechanism that will suspend our planets here. So what we need to do is, I need to find my fishing line. Now, if you don't have fishing line, don't worry. You can use baker's twine or linen thread or whatever, but I have this fishing line. And this is, I don't know how old, years. It's 14 pound. I don't think that makes any difference. I like it because it's clear. And you're going to just take a look at this, kind of see where it hits on the card. And then we are going to get some adhesive, and I would use a strong adhesive. I'm going to use Stampin' Seal Plus. You can use some tear and tape if you like. And I'm just going to put some right here. I forgot to get my, there we go. And then I'm going to put some right down below it, the bottom of the circle here. Then I'm going to take my fishing line, get that on there really well. It's kind of crooked. Let me try again. Then we're going to pull, make it a bit taut, but not too tight, and straight. Press down, and then I'm going to cut it. And now I'm going to use that tear and tape because I found it is strong enough to hold things, and just get my fishing line wound up here. And I don't have to take the top off, the little, or backing, or whatever you care to call it. Of course, I need to find, there we go. It just kind of holds it in place, makes it a little more sturdy. I'm going to put some right here, and put some down here. I'm just going to really press. Now, I'm going to take the front and put some adhesive on it. Put that on the front of our card. Makes it real easy. All we have to do is kind of line up our circles. You know what? I think I have that crooked, but I think we'll just leave it. Let's just leave it. And now we're going to adhere our planets. So for me, the easiest way is to flip one over. Put the adhesive on. And then just slide it under the fishing line, sort of center things a little, and press. Now I'm going to put on the back of this some adhesive. And then line it right up with the other side. And there we go. Now we need to put the inside panel. It's right here. There we go. And there would be our spinner card. Now, let's turn this into this tint card. So, oh, no, we can't do that yet. We need to put the frame. I forgot about the frame. So, for the frame, we're going to need those two dies that I have now lost. I had them right here. There we go, from the Stylish Shapes. And what you do, and I know this is Azure Afternoon, but we'll pretend it's this is Tahitian Tide. Put the largest one down, put the next largest down, line them up. I used a little bit of washi tape to hold them in place. Run that through your die cut machine, and you will get this. And this will fit right here. So, whatever size die you use to cut your window, use one a size bigger. Put the one you use to cut the window in the center, the size bigger around it. Run it through the die cut machine, and you will have a frame for your window. So I think I'll use some I'm using all kinds of adhesive today. We'll use some liquid glue for this. Okay, there's that. Line this up around the window. Give it a little press. And there we go. And this is our spinner card right there. But we're going to make it the tent card. So, to do that, we are going to need a piece of cardstock that is 4 by 4 1/4. And we're going to score it at 1, 2, and 3 inches, and then we're going to fold it. I just start in the middle. Grab a bone folder. And then I fold the edges up, or the ends up. And we need a W. Open up our card. And again, some strong adhesive, and I'll just use the Stampin' Seal Plus. Put it on both of the end pieces, or end sections, I should say. Make sure it's a W. And then you lay it here, line it up at the bottom of the card, press it into place, close your card, press down, and there you go. And the only thing left is to add this piece on the back. And there you go. There is the spinner card and then the tint card version of it. And all these, like I said, were made using products from the Stargazer suite of products. Basically, the Designer Series paper and the Reach for the Stars bundle, which included the stamp set and the dies. Again, all of the information about these cards as far as measurements, supplies, and those kind of things will be found on my corresponding blog post, and the link to that blog post can be found in the description of this video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, stamp happy!